How a super empath tortures a narcissist. This is not about revenge. This is about reclaiming your power. Because when a super empath, someone with intense emotional intelligence, compassion, and spiritual strength, wakes up to the manipulation of a narcissist, they become the one thing a narcissist can't control. They become the one person the narcissist will never forget. And yes, that reality alone is torture. The day the super empath sees through the mask, there comes a moment when the super empath finally sees, not just with their eyes, but with their soul. It's that raw, soul-shattering realization that the person they've poured love into has been playing a role the whole time, and in that moment, everything shifts. The illusion dies, the narcissist thrives in the shadows, they dance in distortion, shape, shift through charm, and manipulate with surgical precision. But the super empath has an ability most overlook. They feel truth, deeply, uncomfortably, unshakably. So when the empath wakes up, they don't just catch the narcissist in a lie. They see the architecture of the entire facade. It's not just about one betrayal. It's about the pattern, the manipulation, the consistent emotional theft. That clarity is electrifying. The narcissist doesn't expect to be found out. They've spent a lifetime crafting a web, wearing masks that reflect back what their targets most want to see. But they underestimate the empath. Because while the empath might bend, they never break. And once they awaken, they never go back. When the empath locks eyes with the narcissist and says, "I know who you really are," it's not just confrontation. It's annihilation. Narcissists survive by confusion, by distortion, by leaving people second, guessing their own reality. But now they've lost control of the narrative. There's a power that rises in the empath. It's not rage, it's clarity. A type of spiritual rage fueled by years of emotional injustice. And when that clarity hits, it ignites a fire the narcissist can't extinguish. Because now, the empath holds the blueprint. The narcissist may try to charm again. They'll shift tactics, try guilt, try pity, try rage, but none of it sticks because the empath isn't guessing anymore. They know, and when you know, they lose leverage. The game is over. The power dynamic is reversed. This moment becomes the narcissist's worst nightmare, not because the empath lashes out, but because they don't. They don't beg, they don't break. They just stand firm, grounded, eyes wide open. That stare alone, it's a mirror the narcissist cannot stand to see. When the narcissist realizes they've been seen, truly seen, it shatters their illusion of control. You see, their power never came from who they were. It came from what others believed they were. And when the super empath exposes that falsehood, the power evaporates. There is no hiding now, no mask left to wear, no excuse that can manipulate reality. The super empath doesn't need revenge. They just need truth. And that truth pierces deeper than any blade ever could. The narcissist begins to spiral. The usual tactics fail, the charm fades, the fake humility turns into panic, because nothing is more dangerous to them than a person they cannot manipulate, a person who has nothing left to lose. The empath, now transformed, stops explaining, stops justifying, stops pleading to be seen, because they realize they've always seen. It's the narcissist who's been blind, and now that blindfold has been ripped off and they are exposed. This is the moment the narcissist remembers for the rest of their life, the moment they were unmasked, the moment they stood naked in front of someone who once loved them purely. That purity now turns into reflection, and that reflection burns. The empath walks away, not in anger but in freedom, and that walking away, that unbothered, unshaken exit, it's the first cut, the beginning of the torture that doesn't come from vengeance, but from evolution. You can't manipulate someone who sees you clearly. You can't play mind games with someone who no longer plays. And when the super empath steps into their knowing, the narcissist steps into their torment. Because the mask they've worn for so long no longer fits. The superpower of detachment, when the super empath discovers detachment, it doesn't happen quietly. It happens like a thunderclap in their spirit. For so long they were wired to care, to connect, to fix. But then something breaks, something sacred snaps inside, and with that break comes liberation. Detachment is not indifference, it's not coldness, it's not apathy, it's power. True detachment is standing in the storm and realizing the storm is no longer inside you. It's watching the chaos swirl and no longer needing to participate. That is the kind of power that sends narcissists into psychological withdrawal. The narcissist has always counted on your emotions, your tears, your confusion, your kindness, your outburst. Each one fed their ego. Each one told them, I still matter to you. But when the super empath detaches, the narcissist sees the most terrifying sight, a stillness they can't disturb. You don't yell anymore. You don't cry in front of them. You don't demand understanding. You don't try to explain how much they hurt you. You simply exist outside their control, and that existence, that refusal to engage, that silence, it's pure torment. This is when the narcissist panics. They poke, they provoke. They stir old wounds, resurrect past arguments, try to bait you back into the dance. But the dance is over. The music stopped playing when you realized your peace was worth more than their validation. The super empath used to believe that loving harder would heal the narcissist, that giving more, proving loyalty, enduring pain was the answer. But now they know. Healing doesn't happen in toxicity. Detachment is the vaccine, and the moment you inject it into your life, the infection begins to die. You no longer respond to texts meant to bait. You don't explain your boundaries. You don't give them the drama they crave. Your energy becomes sacred space, and you refuse to let them touch it. This drives the narcissist mad because they no longer feel powerful in your world. And when a narcissist feels powerless, they become desperate. They'll shift from love, bombing to rage, from guilt, tripping to victim, playing, but nothing works because the super empath is now anchored, not in emotion but in purpose. You don't need to win arguments. You've already won your life back. You go to bed in peace. You wake up without checking your phone for apologies that never come. You no longer orbit around their moods. You live for yourself, and in that detachment, your soul begins to thrive again. You breathe differently. You walk with power. This spiritual and emotional detachment is the narcissist's collapse point. They will never admit it, but they need you to feel something for them. Hate, love, pain, anything, because the moment you feel nothing, they become irrelevant, and narcissists can't survive irrelevance. You weren't weak for staying so long. You were loyal. You weren't broken. You were deeply compassionate. But now, that compassion has turned inward, and every day you wake up and choose detachment is another day the narcissist loses their grip on you. There is no scream louder than your silence, no revenge more devastating than your healing, and no torture more real to a narcissist than being ignored by someone who used to cry for them. Your detachment becomes the mirror they can't shatter because they know it's showing them who they really are. You don't detach because you stopped caring. You detach because you started caring about yourself more. And that shift is monumental. It's evolutionary. You go from being at the mercy of their moods to being the master of your peace. And once peace becomes your priority, no one can weaponize your emotions again. This is how the super empath tortures the narcissist. Not through cruelty, but through serenity, through calm strength, through sacred distance, through becoming unavailable for the drama, the chaos, the confusion. You become a ghost they can't stop thinking about but can never touch again. Detachment isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning. It's where you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't offer you a band-aid. It's where you reclaim your space, your mind, your destiny. And for the narcissist who once fed off your soul, that detachment becomes a lifetime sentence. The glow-up they never saw coming, the narcissist expected you to stay broken. They expected you to stay silent, shattered, unsure of your worth. They expected you to spiral without them, to crawl back begging for validation. But what they never expected, what they never prepared for, was your glow-up. At first, it's quiet. You stop responding to the chaos. You start picking up the pieces. Not for them, not to prove anything, but for you. You begin to hear your own voice again, not the one they tried to overwrite. And that voice is filled with power they tried to erase. They thought they broke you permanently, but you weren't broken. You were buried under manipulation, self-doubt, trauma, and years of gaslighting. But now you rise through clarity, you rise through truth, you rise through the fire they tried to drown you in. The glow-up isn't just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, mental. You begin to walk differently, think differently, breathe differently. You're no longer weighed down by their projections, and that shift, it terrifies them, because now you're becoming someone they can't control. You start taking care of yourself, not out of revenge, but out of reverence. You stop apologizing for your boundaries. You stop explaining your standards. You stop tolerating crumbs when you were born to feast. And every new step you take is like a mirror held up to their failure. You become radiant in a way that no mask can mimic, because narcissists wear borrowed charisma, but the super empath glows from the soul. Your light is real, your energy is pure, and that light begins to expose everything they tried to hide, even from themselves. They see it online, they hear it from mutual friends, they notice it in the silence. You're thriving, laughing again, loving yourself, not obsessing over them, not chasing, not even reacting, and that indifference becomes their new obsession. They thought your life would pause without them, but it didn't. It expanded. You start building things that matter. You reconnect with friends they isolated you from. You pursue dreams they mocked. You create a life that reflects who you really are, not who they tried to reduce you to. And as you rise, they begin to wither, not because you're trying to hurt them, but because you're no longer available to be hurt by them. Your success becomes a mirror to their failure, not material success, but internal victory. The glow-up they can never touch. They'll try to hover, try to re-enter, just checking in. Hope you're well, miss your energy. But they don't miss you. They miss the control, the supply, the devotion. But what they find instead is someone who has evolved beyond recognition. You've become someone they don't know how to manipulate. Someone who doesn't flinch at their words, doesn't melt at their empty apologies. You've become emotionally bulletproof, and for a narcissist who survives on emotional reactions, that's fatal. You're no longer interested in proving your worth. You know it. You're no longer trying to be chosen. You choose yourself. You're no longer apologizing for being too sensitive, too loving, too intense. You realize now, those were your superpowers all along. The glow-up isn't revenge, it's resurrection. You didn't rise to punish them. You rose because your soul refused to die in the prison they tried to keep you in. And every time you smile now, it's a crack in their illusion of control. Every step forward is a reminder you can't keep light in a cage. You were never meant to live dimmed. You were born to disrupt darkness, and now that your light is back, now that you've returned to yourself, the narcissist sees what they truly lost, not just a person, not just attention, but the realest soul they ever touched, and never will again. The reverse gaslight making the narcissist question themselves. The narcissist has a secret weapon: gaslighting. It's a twisted game where reality becomes a weapon, and your truth is their target. They twist facts, rewrite history, make you doubt your own mind. For years, you questioned your sanity because they insisted their version was the only one that mattered. But here's the twist no narcissist expects. The super empath learns how to flip the script. They become the master of the reverse gaslight, not to harm, but to reclaim control. They make the narcissist question themselves for the first time in the game. It starts with awareness. You recognize the pattern. The lies, the manipulation, the false memories. You see the strings behind the puppet show. You no longer play along, no longer let the story be rewritten. And that refusal, it's the first crack in the narcissist's armor. You begin planting seeds of doubt, not cruelly, but strategically. You ask questions that don't fit their narrative. You gently challenge inconsistencies. You point out moments they'd rather forget. The narcissist, used to total control, is suddenly off balance. They try to regain footing with charm, with rage, with fake tears. But their words sound hollow now, even to themselves. The certainty they once wielded like a weapon begins to falter. That's when panic seeps in, because they've never had their reality questioned. The narcissist thrives in absolute certainty. They need to know they are right, know they hold power. But when you make them doubt their own memory, their own motives, their own words, that's a power play unlike any they've faced. This reversal doesn't require you to lie or manipulate. It requires you to be strategic with truth. You hold onto your reality with ironclad conviction. You speak with calm authority. You refuse to accept their version just because it's loud and aggressive. And here's the real pain for themselves. Doubt is poison. It infects their confidence, their swagger, their sense of superiority. When the narcissist questions themselves, their foundation shakes. Their mask begins to slip, revealing insecurity where once was arrogance. They may lash out, desperate to reassert dominance. They may spin new stories, twist your words again, but the seed of doubt is planted and it grows. It unsettles them in private moments. It makes them question their own decisions. It makes them second guess their manipulative tactics. You become a mirror reflecting their inconsistency. Every contradiction you expose chips away at the image they've built. You're not their victim anymore. You're the force that unravels their control thread by thread. This is how the super empath tortures the narcissist. Not with cruelty, but with clarity. Not by breaking rules, but by breaking illusions. You use your truth as a weapon sharper than any lie they've told you. The narcissist may never admit it, but they fear self. Doubt more than any confrontation. Because doubt eats away at their identity. It's the slow unraveling of the false god they built around themselves. And once that god crumbles, what remains? You don't need to shout or rage. You don't need to prove or defend endlessly. You simply hold your ground. You stand firm in your reality while their world starts to blur. The roles reverse, and suddenly the gaslighter is the one gaslighted. That's a moment of justice, the moment when the abuser becomes the confused, insecure player, and the super empath, the one who once doubted themselves, the one who once felt powerless, now holds the cards. This isn't about winning a battle of words. It's about reclaiming your mind, your sanity, your truth. It's about walking away from the maze of lies with your clarity intact. It's about becoming the truth the narcissist can't spin or distort. You transform from prey into predator, not through cruelty but through conviction, not through deception but through awareness, and that power, it's the ultimate revenge, the silent war winning without words. The greatest battle you'll ever fight with a narcissist isn't loud. It isn't explosive. It doesn't happen in words shouted or accusations thrown. No, the real war happens in silence, in the calm, in the space between their attacks and your response. This is where the super empath gains the ultimate power, the power of the silent war. Narcissists crave attention. They feed on reactions, every angry text, every defensive word, every tearful apology you give them. These are their fuel. But when you stop feeding the fire, when you refuse to engage on their battlefield, you starve their power. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a strategic weapon. It's the calm eye in the middle of the storm, when the narcissist throws their chaos your way and you respond with nothing. No argument, no rebuttal. They lose the script. They lose control, they get confused. Imagine a warrior who refuses to fight on their terms. Instead of charging head first, you stand still. You don't flinch at the provocations. You don't dive into their traps. That silence isn't empty. It's full of strength, of control, of unshakable peace. This silent war breaks the narcissist's expectations. They expect you to react, to break down, to fight back. They expect you to crumble under their verbal onslaught. But your silence robs them of their victory. It makes them question their own power. They try harder, they escalate, but your silence remains steady, unwavering. It's a force field that their words cannot penetrate. They scream into the void, but you stand tall, untouched by the noise. In that silence, you build yourself back up. You nurture your spirit. You protect your energy. You choose not to be their battlefield anymore. Instead, you become the peaceful fortress they can't invade. The silent war isn't about revenge. It's about self-preservation. It's about showing the narcissist that you are no longer their puppet, that you refuse to dance to their manipulative tune, that you own your calm even in the face of their storm. Every silent moment is a victory. Every unspoken word is a stand taken, and in time the narcissist's energy drains. Their attempts become weaker. Their threats become hollow. Their power evaporates because they rely on your reaction to survive. You don't need to shout louder to win. You don't need to fight harder. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is not to fight at all. To refuse to engage, to refuse to give them the satisfaction of your pain or your anger. That silence becomes a mirror reflecting their desperation. It shows them that their tactics no longer work. It makes them realize that you're beyond their reach, not by force, but by refusal. The silent war is a lesson in patience, discipline, and inner strength. It teaches you to be still while chaos rages around you. It teaches you to listen deeply to yourself and to the quiet truth that grows when you stop reacting. And the narcissist, they become the desperate one, the loud one, the one trying to break the silence with anything. Lies, tears, rage. But it's too late. You've already won by not playing the game. You win by preserving your peace, by standing firm in your boundaries, by living your life without their permission or their approval, by knowing that sometimes the greatest power is the power of your own calm. In that silence, the super empath doesn't just survive, they thrive. They rebuild their life on solid ground. They find freedom not in loud confrontations, but in quiet resilience. The silent war is the ultimate torture for the narcissist, because it strips away their control, their influence, their supply. And the super empath emerges not broken, but unbreakable. The unseen victory, how healing becomes their undoing healing, is the ultimate act of rebellion against a narcissist. It's the secret weapon that no manipulation can ever touch. The moment you commit to healing, you begin a transformation so deep, so powerful, it shakes the very foundation of the narcissist's control. This is the unseen victory, the one they will never anticipate and never forgive. When a narcissist breaks you down, they want you weak, dependent, broken. But the super empath rises up. They choose healing over hatred, growth over despair, freedom over captivity. Healing is their silent revolution. The process begins with acceptance, accepting what happened without excuses or denial. Accepting your pain, your wounds, your scars as part of your story, but not the whole story. Acceptance isn't surrender, it's the first step toward power. Healing requires courage, the courage to face the darkest corners of your soul where the narcissist's lies once lived. It's painful, yes, but within that pain is power. The power to rewrite your narrative, to reclaim your identity. You learn to forgive not the narcissist, but yourself. Forgiving your past mistakes, forgiving the moments you doubted your own worth. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's liberation. It frees you from the chains of bitterness. Every step of healing erodes the narcissist's influence. Their hold weakens because healing builds resilience. It creates a shield that no gaslight, no manipulation, no abuse can penetrate. Healing is not linear. It's a battle of its own filled with setbacks and breakthroughs. But with every step forward, the narcissist's power over you diminishes. They watch, helpless, as you become stronger than their abuse. You rebuild your boundaries firm and unbreakable. These boundaries become your fortress. The narcissist cannot cross them. No more lies accepted, no more games played. You are the gatekeeper of your life. Healing sharpens your intuition. You learn to recognize red flags before they appear. You become a master of self-protection. The narcissist's tricks no longer fool you. They bounce off your armor. You find your voice not the one that whispers in fear, but the one that roars in confidence. Speaking your truth is healing in action. It breaks the silence the narcissist once controlled. Healing reconnects you to your purpose. You rediscover your passions, your dreams, your desires, the things the narcissist tried to steal. Your life becomes a testament to your survival, your triumph. The unseen victory is not about destroying the narcissist. It's about becoming so whole, so vibrant, so unstoppable that their shadow no longer darkens your path. Your light becomes blinding and they cannot stand it. Healing changes your energy from victim to victor, from broken to whole, from controlled to free, and this energy radiates, touching everyone around you, inspiring others to break free too. The narcissist sees your healing as a threat because it's the opposite of what they want. They want control, chaos, confusion. Healing brings clarity, peace, and strength, a triple blow to their ego. In the end, the super empath's greatest torture to the narcissist is not revenge or confrontation. It's the quiet, relentless power of healing, the victory they cannot see coming but will feel forever. From victim to victor, your power is your truth. Listen closely. This is the moment where everything changes. You have walked through the fire, faced the storm, and stood strong against the darkest forces of manipulation. The narcissist believed they held all the power, but you've uncovered the truth. Your strength comes not from cruelty, but from compassion, not from shouting louder, but from standing firmer. A super empath is not just someone who feels deeply. They are warriors of the soul. They carry a power so fierce, so transformative, that it turns the tables on the abuser. You don't need to fight dirty. You don't need to sink to their level. Your weapon is your clarity, your boundaries, your peace, and your unstoppable will to heal. Remember this, the narcissist's true weakness is you. Their false empire crumbles when you refuse to feed it with your pain, your doubt, your silence. You become the mirror that reflects their lies back at them, the stillness that breaks their chaos, the light that blinds their darkness. You are not defined by the abuse you endured. You are defined by the victory you claim, the victory of reclaiming your mind, your heart, your life. You've learned the silent war, the art of reverse gaslighting, and the power of healing. You've become unbreakable, so step forward now with your head held high. Own your story, celebrate your strength. Let the world see what happens when a super empath refuses to be broken. You don't just survive, you thrive, you conquer, and you rise. Because in the end, the greatest torture for a narcissist is your freedom, your peace, your unshakable truth, and that, my friend, is the ultimate victory. Stand tall, stand proud. Your power has been awakened. Now, go live the life they tried to steal and do it boldly, fiercely, and without apology.